Hello everyone, Ace here, and today I've got something rather special for you all. Today we're going to actually be discussing a topic that's been around in the news a little bit, and it's quite something. But I am going to have to provide you with a little bit of backstory here, so here we go. So back last month, one of the esports teams for the North American Contender League of Overwatch announced they were going to be getting a new player. This player went by the username of Ellie, and was going to be the first female player for this particular league. Now while the team and Ellie did receive a fair amount of praise early on, a lot of players did notice some very peculiar things. For a start, Ellie did not provide her first or last name, despite the fact that all league members have to do so normally. Now, that would be a little bit suspicious on its own, but to add to that would be the fact that Ellie was a fairly inexperienced player, at least as far as her account was concerned, considering it was low ranked, and yet she was able to achieve some very impressive feats in that very short span of time. So needless to say, many gamers were suspicious about the whole matter, with many claiming that Ellie was in fact a more experienced and seasoned veteran Overwatch player pretending to be another person, and that this was in fact an alternate account. Within one day of the second win team's announcement that Ellie was going to be joining them, players had already started to become suspicious of one particular user account known as Punisher. They believed that Punisher was in fact Ellie's true identity. By January 2nd, Ellie had stepped down from this esports team, and by the next day, game journalists began pumping out hit pieces like this one, suggesting that gamers were sexist for being so curious about the whole matter, suggesting that it could only be that because Ellie was a female player, and not at all because of the other suspicious circumstances within the whole situation. This brings me to January 4th, the day after these hit pieces started to be churned out, in which during a live stream on Twitch, Ellie had a very important announcement to make to the world at large. Let's listen to that response, shall we?
Ellie is not Ellie. Okay? Ellie is not Ellie. The whole situation was meant to be, in a way, like a social experiment. Ellie is actually Punisher, and he told me yesterday. So, there you go. Hello, Reddit. Yeah, Ellie is Punisher. He did this for like a social experiment thing and did not expect it to get out of hand, so that's kind of the juice around that. That's all the juice.
So yes, we learned that Ellie was in fact an alternate ego created by Punisher, and he had created Ellie as an alternate count for the specific purpose of testing out a social experiment. This alone effectively invalidated all of the hit piece articles that the game journalist had created. How many hit pieces, do you ask? Well, by good fortune, an enterprising individual decided to compile a list in Pastebin and found no less than 38 specific news publications posting articles about the whole Ellie situation. Needless to say, this is already an incredibly heavy blow to what little credibility modern gaming journalism still had. But it gets even better. For those of you who were curious about the purpose of the social experiment that Punisher had attempted to perform by creating this alternate account known as Ellie and getting her to join an esports team, well, I should mention that Punisher himself tried to join esports teams before, and even though being one of the top 500 players within the game, was unable to do so. In other words, the main purpose of the Ellie experiment was to demonstrate quite clearly that the esports league was more than happy to make several exceptions in order to gain a female player than it was to gain a male player. So in other words, not only did game journalists accidentally publish fake news through their own sheer ineptitude, the actual story instead was about how esports leagues would be willing to discriminate against men to give women an extra leg up to become esports players. From the way I see it, there are at least 3 different specific ways that game journalists have effectively discredited themselves here. For an obvious start, they published what was effectively fake news. Secondly, by doing this, they accidentally drew attention to the actual story, which is about how esports leagues are willing to discriminate against men to give women an extra leg up. This is of course completely contrary to the narrative that game journalists have tried to spin for years now, which is why it works against them and further discredits them. Thirdly, and perhaps least obviously, was the sheer amount of desperation that game journalists displayed when trying to create these articles. The simple fact of the matter is that we had 38 different publications all dogpiling on the same story in a desperate attempt to make gamers all look like sexists. The fact that they all tried to dogpile on this one specific story tells me that they actually have a certain lack of material to work with, which means that it's actually a lot harder than it should be for them to portray gamers as sexists in the first place. Now, for those who wish to learn more about the subject matter on their own, I will of course be providing some links. For a start, there's actually a Reddit post that details the timeline of events leading right up to Ellie's reveal as being Punisher. Secondly, there's of course the Reddit post that deals with Ellie's reveal as Punisher itself, as well as of course the accompanying Twitch stream. And finally, I will be providing a link to the Pastebin that shows all of the hit pieces that were made over this. In addition, I'm going to now show you all of the authors and the publications that posted these hit pieces. Nathan Grayson from Kotaku, Bo Moore from PC Gamer, Cass Marshall from Heroes Never Die, which is a Polygon subsite, Emily Guerra from Variety, Dalton Cooper from Game Rant, Imran Khan from Game Informer, Natalie Flores from Paste Magazine, Jack Ridsdale from PC Games In, Rachel Fittis from DualShockers, Jordan Ulliman from Green Man Gaming Newsroom, Julie Muncie from Wired, Shivali Best from The Mirror, Liana Lily Rupert from comicbook.com, Madeline Richido from Bleeding Cool, Cody Gravelle from Screen Rant, Kayla Hale Stern from The Mary Sue, Charles Singletary Jr. from Shack News, Nicholas Barth from Twin Galaxies, Tarmo from Game Boss, Lara Jackson from Frag Hero, Lawrence Tyler Esguerra from Daily Esports. Unfortunately, the name is covered up in this particular one, but I was able to copy and paste it, and it returns as Bernardo Viana from Dot Esports, Zane Wong from Cog Connected, Rohan from Sports Monks, Tyler Culp from Blizzard Watch, Eric Chan from Action Esports. This one does not have a known author, but it is a Quanlog article that appears to be a repost from the Game Informer article. Admin from eGamers News, Emily Guerra from the Newcastle Herald. This particular article from Veju also does not have an attributed author, but it does also appears to be a repost of the Kotaku article. Hunter G.S. from GameStar, Ava Martinello from Gameblog.fr, Julian Lassoon from Numerama, Peter the Great from IGN Hungary, Miguel Rees from IGN Latin America, Juan Garo from Zataka Esports, Lorenzo Damiano from VMag, and finally another unattributed article from Proximus Sports. Well, I think I've covered everything I need to say about this, so I hope to see you guys again soon. Take care. Ace out.